Alrighty folks, welcome back to a rather cold but otherwise nice morning here. We're going to be having a look at how we're going to be plumbing up our new braking system on the Drift Turkey. You have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a flu going on at the minute, so I'm going to be coughing and hacking and generally making some unpleasant sounds. So let's go take a look. Alright, so what we've got here is the ABS pump for the car, and this tends to be this is ground zero for where all the brake pipes come together, and these two pipes here come from the master cylinder. Sorry, and we'll see that there's some markings stamped into the aluminium valve block on the ABS pump. So we have V, VR, VL, HR, HL, and H. So if we look at, we have V here on this pipe, we have VR and VL. And if we chase the VR and the VL pipes, which are these two guys here, so they come down here, there's VR here and VL. We'll see here, and I hope you can see this, but they're going to the front. This one is going, this is basically, this pipe here is VR, so that's the right hand side. So what I believe the V stands for is the German word Vorderzeit, which means front. Sorry for my bad pronunciation. Any Germans that may be listening, please feel free to correct me on that. That's just a guess. So basically this pipe here then tells me that this is for the front brakes, and this one is for the rear brakes. I'm not sure what the H stands for. So basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be deleting this ABS pump. We're going to be connecting the master cylinder front with a T-piece to the two front lines here, so to give a straight application of hydraulic pressure to the front brakes. Then the H line, which is this one, and the two H pipes here going to the rear brakes, we're going to be bringing them through the line lock valve and through the hydraulic handbrake. So let's get started on that, and we'll walk you guys through what we're going to be doing. Now, just brief kind of a word of warning here, because I've seen when I've been looking at some videos and that about how to install a hydraulic handbrake, I see some people doing stuff that I wouldn't really recommend, and that is to combine the rear brake pipes, go into the hydraulic handbrake, and then come back out and recombine them. Now what that is doing is it's defeating the fail-safe that's in your hydraulic brakes, because the reason that your master cylinder, which is this guy, has got two pipes. Early cars just had one, and you just took the one hydraulic feed and you just split it across all the four wheel cylinders, and you know, sometimes there was a biasing valve, so the front brakes came on, or sorry, the rear brakes came on first, and so on. But the reason for two is a fail-safe, so that if you get a leak in one of the hydraulic systems, the second one will still operate. Now, if your car is set up so that one side of the master cylinder feeds the front and one feeds the rear, that's fine. But most cars nowadays are set up so that they're diagonal. So one side of the master cylinder will feed the rear left and the front right wheel, and the second side of the master cylinder will feed the rear right and the front left. But if you combine them in order to fit a hydraulic handbrake, you're now meaning that a leak in any one wheel cylinder can basically defeat the failsafe. So just something to be careful of if you're going into a road car. Now, this being a track car, I can simply remove the ABS pump entirely and I can replumb the brake so that one side of the master cylinder feeds the front and one side feeds the rear. So if I do get a failure in the hydraulic circuit, I'm still safe. I'll still have either front or rear brakes working. Okay, so if I wanted to retain this car as a street legal car and retain the ABS system in it, what I would need to do is to fit a twin master cylinder hydraulic handbrake, but that's not something that we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to shut up and we're going to run some pipe. Stay with us. Alright, so let's have a quick look at what we're going to need to do this job. So, first thing is, we're going to need a lot of brake pipe fittings. Lots of different sizes, different genders and so on. And I'll run through these as we actually fit them. But the good news is with the BMW, it's all either going to be it's either going to be 10mm metric or 12mm metric, and it's all 3/16 tubes, so that makes sense there. In terms of tools, we're going to need a pipe cutter. I got one of these brake pipe bending pliers, really nice piece of kit, cost about 20 bucks and well worth the money. More fittings, a flaring tool. This is a kind of a more manual flaring tool, but I like it because it lets you actually put flares on the pipes when they're still on the car, so when you have to do repairs and so on, I find this very, very useful. Now we need a roll of 3/16 Cupro nickel brake pipe. You can use copper, but I prefer this stuff. I think I have some pipe clips in here to fit that tube, just for some of the new runs that we're going to be making. So that's about it. Nothing too extravagant. eBay is your friend for pretty much all of this stuff. Like the fittings particularly, just would be very expensive to buy locally, but you can get them online cheaply. So that's about it. Let's get threading up some pipe here. Alright, so we're not doing too bad at all. Got our first line in here from the line lock valve. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, hopefully you will. Got our first line in from the line lock valve to the feed on the hydraulic handbrake. And I've now got a nice long tube fed in from the rather vacant engine compartment. And we're going to put this guy into the output of the hydraulic handbrake. So let's do some pipe bending. See now how you want to do this. I'm probably going to want to go create a bit of a loop here, and we'll see where we want to be. This is one of the areas where the old eBay hydraulic handbrake tends to fall down a bit, is that these fittings on it are not standard size. This output is 3/8 UNF, and this inlet is 7/16 UNF, so maybe, I don't know, maybe they ran out of taps or something. So let's see if we can, okay, they're going to be a weird size as well. It'll be 11s, we have the answer for that. And what I typically do here is, these guys, is I like to fit them before I do the bending, so that any twisting in the pipes is kind of taken out of the equation. That should be tight enough. Alright, so now let's see how we want to do this. I want to try and keep the pipe out of harm's way as well, and certainly don't want it in the way of the lever. So let's see here. Let's see here now. This kind of even a half decent job. The bending spanner is just fantastic for this stuff, or the bending pliers I should say, sorry, it's just fantastic here for this work. It just really makes it easier to do, no risk of damaging the pipe either. I'm going to put a few clips around here, and then we can start running that pipe back out to the ABS pump location. Alrighty, so we have our hydraulic handbrake plumbed up to the line lock, and we have our two pipes going back up through the firewall there into the I guess what will be the battery bay really. So the next part of the plan here now is where we're going to be taking out the ABS pump, and we're going to be plumbing up our new pipes to the old ones. Alrighty, so we got our ABS pump out, and we have replumbed the front brakes. So we'll see what we did here, hopefully it'll make sense, hopefully it'll even come out, is we have our feed line from the master cylinder here going into a T-piece, and then that just splits to the two front calipers here. So very, very simple, and that's the front brakes done. So the next thing we got to do now is we got to start looking at the rear brakes. Now the rear brakes, that's where we're going to join in the new pipe work that we fitted earlier. And we have two pipes here, so this is what we are going to do. This pipe here, this one, basically feeds the line lock valve. So the first thing we want to do is we want to connect this pipe here to this pipe here, which is our feed from the master cylinder. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how I use the flaring tool. Basically for the past pipes that I've made up there, I've been able to mount the flaring tool in the bench vise and just use it as a fixed tool. But I'm now going to show you how we do a flare on the vehicle. So what we have is, this is our feed line going to the line lock. So I've put a 12 by 1 female nut on this. I'm going to have to put a double flare on this guy here in order to join him up to this guy here, which has a male 12 on him here, and that's the line that comes from our master cylinder. So got to get a fitting that will go on to that guy. First thing we do is we basically back off the two nuts here, and we let it clamp over the pipe. And I just usually do it with my thumb. Then you put the stop in. We basically thread in the stop so that our brake pipe bottoms out against that stop. That's what gives us the depth going into the tool that we need in order to make the flare the correct size. Take a 10mm spanner, basically just tighten down these nuts or screws on here. You gotta get them fairly tight, but not too, because it does clamp down very well on the pipe. Seems to work well with this Q-Pro nickel pipe. So then the 16mm spanner, and basically just loosen off the stop and take it out. The actual tool, and there's two ends on it, and we'll need to use both of these ends to make a double flare. So we put the operation 1 end in first, just kind of tighten it up. Take our 16mm spanner, then this way you gotta kind of grab it. Oops. We gotta just tighten up. I have used this to flare OEM steel brake pipes as well on a couple of different cars now, and it does those quite well. Obviously a little bit easier with the Q-Pro nickel. And it's pretty much bottomed out there now. Yeah, that's it. My thick head keeps hitting things. So then we back out OP1. A little bit of grease on it on the other side. And screw in OP2. OP2 is a much smaller operation. You're basically simply flattening out the single flare. That's it. We take our 10mm spanner. We just gotta slack these guys off. I actually slack them off quite a bit because you now have to get the flare out. And there it is. Flare is made. A little bit of grease on it. It actually makes quite a nice flare. So let's see if we can get this pipe bent around here in such a way that we can connect it to the original master cylinder line. So I'll take that one. Just going to wedge it out of the way there. I'm doubly certain I have the right line, which I do. Wide radius bends like this you can just do by hand. There's no reason to worry about tooling for that kind of a bend. Now when I actually want to, I'm trying to figure out now. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I want to put a bend on this guy here, a fairly tight radius. So I'm going to use my pliers. The top one is for the 3/16 pipe. So what I do is pretty much it's a loose fit on the pipe. We want to make a 90-degree bend this way, so we just basically just bend up around the former like that, and there we go. Simple 90-degree bend. Without kinking the tube, which is the important part. And let's see, now you'll probably be seeing my big head now, so it's not going to really be nice. Let's see if I can get you guys a better angle. And we'll try this, don't know if it's going to work out. Alright, so here we go. Hope you're not just seeing my big head here. Alright, come on. Of course, these things never really want to tread together, and being such a fine pitch, it's the easiest thing in the world to cross-thread them. So I think we got it. Yeah, I think we got it. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Alright. Alrighty, so we now have the entire system plumbed up. we took the return line from the hydraulic handbrake here, and it comes around and goes into this T-piece where it feeds the two rear calipers. And I've let the pressure off the brake pedal. We have drip bled from here the front brakes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump in the car here. I'm going to release the locking lever on our hydraulic handbrake. Yes, I think I should, because what we want to start doing now is we're going to open the line lock valve. That's going to start letting fluid come back through this guy into the hydraulic handbrake. And what we'll do now is I'm just going to cheat the bleeding for today, because I don't need to drive the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up maybe this line here. I'm going to just cycle the brake so we can push out most of the air that's in the new pipework. Alright, so I hope you guys can see this, but we have fluid dripping now from this union here, which should mean we've expelled most of the air out of the system. I'll give it a couple of more pumps. Oh, there it goes, yeah. That's the foot brake pumping now. I'm going to try the hydraulic handbrake. Oh yeah. Loads of air coming out. Foot brake again. Handbrake. All the way back. Foot brake. I'll tighten this one up. Will be going around the wheels because I'm probably ultimately going to be replacing the flexi hoses and some of the braking components before we start doing any kind of serious trashing of this particular vehicle. Right, so that's one. That one's loosened off. I'm going to go ahead and pump the brake. This one's so well from inside the car. Oh, I can. Oh, there it goes. That looks good. That should do. Alrighty, so the brake pedal's not bad. There's a bit of springiness in it, because we still have air in there, definitely. But just to get us moving today, it feels good. Handbrake. Oh yeah, the handbrake's actually quite stiff. There is quite a bit of travel in it though. You can see the piston, so that's just air. Yeah, the lock works. I mean, that's my handbrake on. I guess it's on for keeps now. Oh, two-handed job. Okay. So that's it in kind of drifting mode. Now, foot brake works, handbrake works. Oh, we can actually feel them. I kind of, yeah, you can actually feel one little bit of movement when I pull the handbrake there, which is interesting. No leaks, so that's good. Let me pull some pressure on there. If I turn off the line lock, yeah, that pretty much locks out. The pedal actually stiffens up quite a bit with the line lock off, because probably not as much air in the front system as we got here. So that's it, guys. Alrighty folks, hope you enjoyed that video despite me sounding a bit stuffed up. So yes, hope you enjoyed that video. Sorry it's a bit stuffed up here. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, it's all kind of worked out how I kind of wanted it to. We got a lot more to do. We got to put brackets on the pipes and all that kind of thing, bleed the brakes, blah 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 blah. But anyway, that's what we were doing today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you all next time, folks.